Your front yard could be the most beautiful one on the street, and you barely have to lift a finger to make it happen. Before we get into it, if you're someone who loves a gorgeous garden without all the backbreaking work, you are in the right place. Hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you tap that bell icon so you never miss a video. We drop new gardening content every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Okay, we've got 7 incredible plants to get through today, and every single one of them is going to make your neighbors stop and stare. Let's get into it. Okay, let's go to the video. Here's the truth. Most people give up on gardening, not because they don't love it, but because it takes too much time, too much money, and too much energy to keep up with. You plant something beautiful in spring, and by July, it's dead, or overgrown, or just completely out of control. But perennials? They change everything. You plant them once, and they come back year after year, stronger and fuller each season. And April is the absolute best time to get them in the ground. The soil is warming up, the frost risk is dropping, and these plants will have the entire growing season to establish strong roots. So today, we're covering the 7 easiest perennials you can plant in your front yard this April. Plants that are low maintenance, high impact, and guaranteed to make your garden look like you actually know what you're doing. Plant number 1. Daylily. All right, we're kicking things off with one of the most forgiving, most rewarding plants you will ever put in your garden, the daylily. Now, if you've never grown a daylily before, let me paint you a picture. Imagine tall, elegant stems shooting up from a dense clump of grass-like foliage, topped with large, trumpet-shaped blooms in shades of yellow, orange, red, pink, and purple. They're absolutely stunning. And the best part? They basically take care of themselves. Daylilies are called daylilies because each individual flower only lasts one day. But here's the thing. Each stem produces dozens of buds, so your plant stays in bloom for weeks at a time. You're getting a constant rotation of fresh flowers all through late spring and into summer. It looks like you've been tending to it every single day, when really, you've done almost nothing. They thrive in full sun to partial shade, which means they work in almost any front yard setup, whether you've got a sunny open space or a spot that gets a bit of afternoon shadow. They're drought tolerant once they're established, so if you're the kind of gardener who sometimes forgets to water, no judgment, daylilies will forgive you. They'll still show up and show out. In terms of soil, they're not picky at all. They'll grow in clay, sandy soil, loamy soil, they don't care. Just make sure you've got decent drainage so the roots don't sit in standing water for too long. Planting in April is ideal because you're giving them a head start before the summer heat kicks in. Space them about 18 to 24 inches apart because these plants spread over time, and you want to give them room to form those full, lush clumps that make a front yard look absolutely incredible. One key benefit to highlight here: daylilies are incredibly deer-resistant. If you live in an area where deer casually stroll through your yard and eat everything you've ever loved, daylilies are one of the few plants they tend to leave alone. That alone makes them worth every penny. Divide them every 3 to 4 years to keep them blooming strong, and that's it. Literally, that is the full maintenance schedule. Plant, water occasionally, divide every few years, enjoy the beauty every single spring and summer. It doesn't get much easier than that. Plant number 2, Coneflower. Coming in at number 2, we have one of the most iconic and beloved perennials in the entire gardening world, the coneflower, also known by its scientific name, Echinacea purpurea. If you've ever driven past a front yard in midsummer and thought, wow, what are those gorgeous purple and pink daisy-like flowers? There's a very good chance you were looking at coneflowers. They are bold, they are tall, they are wildly beautiful, and they are almost impossible to kill. Coneflowers grow anywhere from 2 to 4 feet tall, with large flowers that have drooping petals surrounding a raised, spiky central cone, hence the name. The classic variety is that rich purple-pink color, but breeders have developed coneflowers in white, yellow, orange, red, and even deep burgundy. So no matter what color scheme you're working with in your front yard, there is a coneflower that fits. Now let's talk about why they're so easy. First, drought tolerance. Once coneflowers are established, they can handle dry spells without any drama. They have deep taproots that reach down into the soil to find moisture even when the surface is bone dry. So again, if you're not the most consistent waterer in the world, these plants are built for you. They love full sun, 6 or more hours a day, and they actually perform better in slightly poor soil. You heard that right. Rich, heavily fertilized soil can cause them to grow leggy and flop over. These are plants that genuinely thrive on a little bit of neglect. If your front yard soil isn't perfect, lean into it.
April planting gives coneflowers exactly what they need. Cool soil temperatures to germinate and establish before summer. You'll likely see blooms in your first year if you're planting transplants, and by year 2, you'll have a full, dense stand of color that looks absolutely professional. Here's the big bonus with coneflowers. They are pollinator magnets. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds absolutely love them. If you want a front yard that feels alive and buzzing with energy all summer long, a patch of coneflowers will make that happen. And in the fall, if you leave the seed heads standing instead of cutting them back, you'll attract finches and other seed-eating birds through the winter. Your garden becomes a wildlife habitat without you doing a single extra thing. They also self-seed lightly, meaning they'll drop seeds that grow into new plants the following year, slowly expanding your patch over time. Free plants automatically every year. That's the dream right there. Plant number 3, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia hirta. Number 3 is another absolute classic. And if you want your front yard to look like something straight out of a cottage garden magazine this summer, Black-Eyed Susan is your plant. These cheerful golden yellow flowers with their dark brown centers are one of the most recognizable wildflowers in North America. They bloom from midsummer all the way through fall, which means they fill in the gap when a lot of your spring bloomers are starting to fade. Smart gardeners use Black-Eyed Susans specifically to keep color going in the garden deep into the season. And it works beautifully. They grow to about 2 to 3 feet tall, producing masses of flowers on branching stems. A single plant can produce dozens, sometimes over 100, flowers in a good season. When you've got a cluster of them planted together along a front walkway or at the edge of a garden bed, the effect is absolutely stunning. Bold, warm, golden, and completely wild-looking in the best possible way. Now for care. And again, this is a list about easy plants, so let me reassure you. Black-Eyed Susans are incredibly low maintenance. Full sun is ideal, though they'll tolerate a bit of light shade. They handle heat well, they handle drought once established, and they're not bothered by humidity. If you live somewhere with hot summers, this is one of the few plants that will actually look better as the heat cranks up. They prefer well-drained soil, but they're not fussy about fertility. You don't need to feed them regularly or amend your soil heavily before planting. Get them in the ground in April, give them some water while they're getting established, and then mostly leave them alone. A key caution to keep in mind. Black-Eyed Susans can spread aggressively through self-seeding. This is a benefit if you want to fill a large area with color over a few seasons. But if you have a smaller, more manicured front yard, deadhead the spent flowers before they set seed to keep them in check. It's a 2-minute job once a week during bloom season. Totally manageable. They pair extraordinarily well with coneflowers and ornamental grasses. If you plant all 3 together, you get a naturalistic prairie-style garden that looks absolutely intentional and designed, even though it's basically taking care of itself. Plant number 4, Salvia, Salvia nemorosa. At number 4, we're talking about a plant that professional landscape designers reach for again and again because it delivers enormous visual impact with almost zero effort. Salvia, specifically the Salvia nemorosa varieties like Maynight or Caradonna. Salvia produces tall, elegant spikes covered in tiny flowers, most commonly in rich purple and violet shades, though you can also find pink and white varieties. The spikes shoot up above compact, tidy foliage and create this beautiful vertical element in your garden that draws the eye and adds structure. When you mass them in groups of 3, 5, or 7, the effect is genuinely breathtaking. A long border of purple salvia in full bloom in May and June looks like something from a European estate garden. And here's the kicker: it blooms twice. You get your first flush of blooms in late spring, and if you cut the spent spikes back after blooming, a process called deadheading, the plant pushes out a second round of flowers in late summer or early fall. 2 full rounds of color from one plant, 1 planting, 0 extra cost. Salvia loves full sun and well-drained soil. It's extremely drought-tolerant. In fact, it's one of the most drought-hardy perennials you can plant. Overwatering is actually more of a risk than underwatering with salvia. Once it's established, rainfall alone is often enough to keep it happy in most climates. That is almost unbelievably easy. It's also highly resistant to deer and rabbits. The foliage has a strong aromatic scent that browsing animals find unappealing. So while your neighbors are out there screaming at deer for eating their hostas, your salvia is standing there completely untouched. One important thing to know: salvia needs good drainage above everything else. If your front yard has heavy clay soil that stays wet, amend it before planting or build a slightly raised bed. Salvia sitting in wet, soggy soil over winter will rot. But if drainage is good,
This plant will live for many, many years with almost no intervention from you. It's one of those plants that genuinely gets better and more impressive with age. Plant it in April, give it a few good waterings while it settles in, and watch it absolutely transform your front yard. Plant number 5, Catmint, Nepeta racemosa. Halfway through our list, and we are not slowing down. Number 5 is Catmint, and if you've never grown it before, this might just become your new favorite plant. Catmint is a soft, billowy, spreading perennial that produces masses of small lavender blue flowers over silvery green aromatic foliage. When it's in full bloom, which happens in late spring and then again in late summer if you cut it back, it looks like a cloud of purple floating just above the ground. It's ethereal. It's romantic. It looks incredibly expensive and high-end, and it asks almost nothing from you in return. It grows about 18 to 24 inches tall and spreads to form wide, rounded mounds. This makes it perfect as an edging plant along a front walkway or driveway, as a border plant along the front of your garden, or as a ground cover in a sunny spot where you want to suppress weeds without using mulch. Because catmint, once established, forms such a dense mound of foliage that it essentially shades out the ground beneath it and prevents weed seeds from germinating. A weed-suppressing, beautiful, flowering ground cover. Yes, that's a real thing, and it's called catmint. It thrives in full sun, is extremely drought-tolerant, and actually prefers lean, well-drained soil over rich, heavily amended ground. Sound familiar? Like salvia, catmint does not need to be babied. It needs sun, decent drainage, and occasional trimming. That's the full list of requirements. The pollinator activity around catmint is extraordinary. Bumblebees in particular absolutely go crazy for it. If you want to support pollinators in your neighborhood and create a dynamic, living garden, catmint is one of the most effective plants you can choose. Now, the name. Yes, cats are attracted to catmint. Not as intensely as they are to catnip, which is a close relative, but if you have neighborhood cats visiting your yard, they may roll around in it occasionally. For most people, this is a minor, mildly amusing issue rather than a real problem. Just something to be aware of. Cut it back by about a third after the first bloom flush fades, and you'll get a gorgeous second round of flowers in late summer. Easy, effective, beautiful. Catmint earns its spot on this list every single time. Plant number 6, Hostas, Hosta species. Number 6 is for everyone who has a front yard with shade and felt left out of this conversation until right now. Hostas are here, and they are about to completely solve your shady garden problem. Hostas are the undisputed kings and queens of the shade garden. They are grown primarily for their foliage rather than their flowers, and that foliage is genuinely spectacular. Depending on the variety you choose, hosta leaves can be deep forest green, bright chartreuse yellow, blue-green, pure white, or any combination of those in stunning variegated patterns. Some leaves are smooth and glossy, others are deeply textured and puckered. The variety within this genus is extraordinary. There are thousands of cultivars ranging from tiny miniatures you can hold in your palm to massive specimens with leaves the size of dinner plates. And they are so easy to grow. If you have a shaded or partially shaded front yard, under a tree canopy, along the north side of your house, in a spot that only gets a couple of hours of direct sun, hostas are your answer. They don't just tolerate shade, they thrive in it. Plant them in April and they'll spend the whole season pushing out bigger, more dramatic leaves. They prefer consistently moist, well-drained soil rich in organic matter, so if you have decent garden soil and you mulch around them to retain moisture, they will reward you generously. They're not drought-tolerant the way some of our other list entries are, but they're also not demanding. Just consistent moisture, and they're happy. The key caution with hostas, and this is important, slugs and deer love them. Slugs will chew ragged holes in the leaves, especially in wet seasons. Use slug bait or diatomaceous earth around the base if slugs are an issue in your garden. And if deer are a problem in your area, hostas may need some protection or be replaced with more deer-resistant alternatives. It's the one real vulnerability of an otherwise incredibly easy plant. But for a shaded front yard, nothing, and I mean nothing, gives you that lush, layered, professionally designed look like a well-placed collection of hostas in different sizes and colors. Plant them in groups, mix large and small varieties, combine different foliage colors, and your shady front yard will become an absolute showstopper. Plant number 7, Lavender, Lavandula angustifolia. And we are saving the best for last. Number 7 is lavender, and if there is one plant on this entire list that has the power to completely transform the look, the feel, and even the smell of your front yard, it is this one, lavender. Just saying the word conjures images of rolling purple fields in the south of France, fragrant breezes, and that perfect, romantic, timeless garden aesthetic that everyone is chasing. And here's the incredible thing. You can have that in your front yard this April with very little effort. Lavandula angustifolia, the English lavender varieties, are the most cold-hardy and the most reliable for front yard use in most parts of the country. Varieties like Hidcote, Munstead, and Phenomenal are especially robust and well-suited to home gardens. They grow into neat, rounded mounds of silver-gray aromatic foliage, topped in late spring and early summer with those iconic purple flower spikes that are instantly recognizable from 20 feet away. The fragrance is extraordinary. When you plant lavender along your front walkway, on either side of the path leading to your door, and guests brush against it as they walk past, the scent that releases is absolutely intoxicating. It creates this immediate sensory experience that makes your home feel welcoming, luxurious, and beautifully cared for. No candle, no air freshener, no store-bought product can replicate what a real lavender plant does for your front yard experience. Now for care. Lavender loves full sun, loves heat, loves dry conditions, and absolutely demands excellent drainage. This is the one plant on our list where poor drainage is a deal breaker. Lavender planted in wet, heavy clay soil will struggle and eventually die. But in well-drained soil, or in a raised bed, or in a rock garden, or along a sunny sloped area, it is bulletproof. It's drought-tolerant to an exceptional degree, it's deer-resistant, it's rabbit-resistant, and once it's established, it asks almost nothing from you. Prune it lightly in spring. Just trim back the old woody growth by about a third, and again after flowering, to keep the plant compact and productive. That's it. That is the complete care routine for a plant that will live for a decade or more, get more beautiful every year, and make your front yard look like the cover of a garden magazine every single summer. Planted in April in a sunny, well-drained spot, give it a few weeks to settle in, and by June, you will be standing in your front yard wondering why you didn't plant lavender years ago. And that is all 7. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. It genuinely means the world. If you got something useful out of this video, do me a quick favor and smash that like button. It helps this channel more than you know, and it only takes a second. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe right now and tap the bell so YouTube actually shows you our videos when we upload. We're putting out new gardening content every single week, from beginner guides to deep dive plant profiles to seasonal planting schedules, and you don't want to miss any of it. I'll see you in the next one.